Hello, can you hear me? So I start.
Hello? Can you hear me? We can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, good morning, everybody. For those that do not know me, my name is Thomas Schneider. I'm ambassador at the Swiss government, and yes, it's this mic, so they seem to be able to hear me. I'm currently the chairman or the president of the EuroDIG Support Association, and so somebody is not muted where we hear some noise, probably from remote. Please all mute yourself while you're not speaking. So, sono molto contento di essere qui a Trieste, una città che conosco più o meno bene, perché facciamo un stop ogni volta quando andiamo in vacanze in Croazia della Svizzera. L'ultima volta l'estate scorso. È una città molto interessante e anche bella, e è veramente un piacere di essere qua e fare l'EuroDIG 2020 qui. I will not speak too long, but give the floor quickly to Sandro Scandalo, because he needs to leave. He's a very important man for this institution, the president, and so let me give the floor to you.
Thank you, Thomas, and welcome everybody. I'm actually Director of Research here at the ICTP, the Abdus Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics. Can I have the slides? Just wanted to say a few words about the place where you are. First of all, I'd like to thank you for considering this place as the location of the next EuroDIG 2020. We are an international organization. We are under UNESCO. This is the campus. You're here now. This is the. You don't see actually the building because it's hidden by the forest here. This is a beautiful park which you can visit. The access hours are between I think 9 and 6 in the afternoon. This is the main campus of ICTP on the other side of the park. This is the main building, and this is another building which used to be owned by CISA, the university, a local university. Is now actually CISA is one of the partners of EuroDIG 2020. Antonio is here. And we're actually going to, the EuroDIG will take place here in the main auditorium of the CISA building. Okay. Next one, if I can move the, thank you. So essentially we are an institution run by scientists. I'm a physicist myself. And we do research in physics and mathematics with special attention to scientists from developing countries. So you see a number of visitors coming to ICTP, and half of them come from developing countries to get training in advanced trainings in physics and mathematics. We were founded more than 50 years ago by Abdus Salam. Abdus Salam was a theoretical physicist, probably the most influential theoretical physicist of the past century. Born in Pakistan, he made it all the way to the UK, and he became, and he got a Nobel Prize for Physics in 1979 for the discovery of the Standard Model. Actually, discovery which he made while he was director here at the ICTP. He founded ICTP in 1964, and he was director until 1995 when he passed away, and he did all his research when he was here. So he got the Nobel Prize here from Trieste. We're currently run by the Italian government, the IAEA, and UNESCO. So we're an international organization. Formally, we're actually under UNESCO administratively. Next one, please. I think I'll keep it short. Okay, Stephen Hawking has been a strong supporter. Next one, please. I don't want to take too much time. So you'll find on campus guest houses. This is one of them. We have another one. There are cafeterias, lecture rooms, which will of course made available to EuroDIG when you come here in June. In terms of structure, we have about 30 staff scientists, including myself, Marco, Ermanno, who are actually the local people. You'll get to know them, of course. Number of students, about 200 students. We have a large computer cluster, which we share with CISA, by the way, and we have also a large library. While you're within the network, the local network, you can actually access also, online journals at the ICTP library. Just look at the website of ICTP, you'll find the library, and then you can connect. Next one, please. We do research in physics and mathematics, primarily the core areas of research. I myself am a condensed matter physicist. But we also have special initiatives where we essentially try to support scientific development, in particular in the developing countries. And I'd like to point out that we have a strong research group dealing with ICT and for development, doing wireless, Internet of Things. And again, our leaders are Hermano and Marco there. Perhaps you can raise your hands there. Marco and Hermano, they are our local people. Next one, please. I think I can be quick here. We run a number of programs for students. We have agreements with universities. We run PhD, joint PhDs, master's programs. Next one, please. I don't want to take too much time. We also have programs for experienced scientists trying to, try to fight brain drain from developing countries. Conferences, next one please, go quickly to the conferences. This is one of the main programs of ICTP. We run something like 60, 70 conferences every year on campus, as well as in some cases in developing countries. In a number of areas, and we try also to expand our reach in terms of scientific reach by inviting here. And in fact, EuroDIG is one example of a conference in which we would like to bring experts here on campus. And that brings, next one please, has brought to ICTP over the years more than 140,000 scientists have been here at the ICTP participating in our training programs, essentially representing the whole of the world. As you can see, it's quite balanced in terms of geographical distribution, and we actually believe that, we have a lot of participants from developing countries who are normally partially supported when they come here, but we also have a large number of scientists coming from the developed world, and we consider that as a sign, an indication of the quality of the programs, because scientists coming from developed countries are coming at their own expenses, essentially. So that actually is a sign of the quality of our programs. Next one. Yeah, this is the future. We are now creating partner institutes in some crucial places in the world because, of course, we cannot grow here. The campus is limited in size, so we're trying to create these places where we replicate our programs in different parts of the world. This is the sort of we've already opened these centers. The Brazil one and the Rwanda one are actually quite strong. And there are a number of activities also connected with ICT, Internet of Things, going on in Rwanda. Next one, please. I think I'm also almost done. Just wanted to make sure that you are familiar with the fact that Trieste is a special city in terms of concentration of scientists. I think it's the city in Europe with the highest concentration percentage of science per population, per unit of population. In fact, it's actually thanks to the presence of a number of scientific institutions. ICTP is here. This is the ICTP campus, about 7 kilometers from the center of the city. TWAS is also there. We have a geophysical observatory. We have CISA, one of the partners of EuroDIG, who has recently moved from the ICTP campus to another place, about 20 minutes drive from here. We have a large university. We have the Area Science Park, which essentially deals with technology transfer. We have a center for genetic engineering and biotechnology, some institutes of the National Research Council, and a large, the National Synchrotron Facility, one of the largest experimental facilities, national experimental facilities, are all in Trieste. All this has led, next one please, to the to the fact that Trieste will be this year, in 2020, the European Capital of Science. That is, has been selected by the Euroscience Open Forum to be the ESOF 2020 Capital of Science. So, in fact, EuroDIG will be part of this large program of events that will take in Trieste, and they will actually be the main event will take place in July, at the beginning of July. 1 week, we'll have about 3,000 experts, policymakers, scientists who will come to Trieste to discuss the latest developments in science and impact that science has on society. This is also leading to a renovation of a large area of the old port. If you drive back to town, you'll see it about halfway, 3 kilometers from here on the right side. There are huge renovation works where actually the town, the municipality is building a huge conference center, and there will be a big, preparation for the big event in July this year. And EuroDIG 2020 will actually be just before the EASE of 2020 main event. So we'll be part of this number of events that are in the calendar of Trieste 2020 Capital of Science, European Capital of Science. I think I'm done with this. Thank you.
Now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to finish my my speech. Well, let's just me repeat this. Let's say wish. EASE of 2020 slogan this year is open knowledge, fair future, and there is no way we can build that without having a sustainable internet governance. So what we're doing with EuroDIG and what we're doing today with the program is very important, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have had those who have been following this, which I guess most of you process for a number of times, quite an interesting year. But before we get to that, maybe we do a quick tour de table that everyone just says who he is, where he comes from, so that those who do not know each other know who's in the room, and that the remote participants also know who is in the room. Maybe let's start on this side.
My name is...
You need to take the mic so that the people can... Yeah.
Switch it on. My name is Hermano Pietro Semoli. I work at ICTP in the Telecommunication and ICT for Development Laboratory, along with Marco Zannaro. And we work in technology, especially for internet access in developing countries and Internet of Things.
Okay, my name is Marco Zannaro. I'm also from the Telecommunication and ICT for D section of ICTP, which is part of the Applied Physics group here at the center.
Frederick Dong from the Internet Society. Hello, everybody.
Olivier Crépin-Leblanc. I'm with the European At-Large Organization in ICANN. I'm also the chair of ISOC England and also a board member of EuroDIG. EuroDIG Association, should I say.
I'm Michael Rothert from ECHO, German Association of the Internet Industry. I was EuroDIG host in 2014, I guess, in Berlin, and I'm following EuroDIG since its beginning. I guess I missed one. So I'm always happy to be part of the planning committee here, and first time in Trieste, and we'll see how it works.
My name is Elisabeth Schauermann. I'm based in Berlin, mostly working with the German Informatics Society, but today I'm here on behalf of the EuroDIG Secretariat. I'm taking minutes for us all, and I'm also highly concerned with the EuroDIG, our youth program that we run every year.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Peter Koch. I work for DINIG, the German top-level domain registry, as a policy advisor. I am also the chair of the German ISOC chapter and involved in the German IGF.
Roberto Gaetano, Euralo board, big fan of EuroDIG and big fan of Trieste.
Hello everybody, my name is Paolo Perucci. I come from Friuli Venezia Giulia region and I'm involved in broadband connectivity projects.
Hi, my name is Auke Pals. I'm from the Netherlands and I'm there the youth ambassador for internet governance, and here I'm responsible for the EuroDIG logistics.
Buongiorno, good morning everybody. My name is Arnold van Rijn. I'm from the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Policy of the Netherlands, and I was host team lead for EuroDIG 2019.
So good morning everybody, I'm Paulina Malaya from Centre, an association representing European country code top-level domain registries, and this is my first planning preparatory meeting at EuroDIG. As of this year, I'm a subject matter expert for technical and operational issues.
Good morning, my name is Ross Quillman. I'm from the European Telecommunication Network Operators Association, ETNO.
Hello everyone, Jeren Hunal, also from Internet Society. We've been supporting EuroDIG for quite a long time, and also along with Frederick we are the SMEs for Access and Literacy track.
Yeah, good morning. Yrjö Länsipuro from the Finnish chapter of the Internet Society. I've been with the EuroDIG, active in EuroDIG since the very beginning, 2008, and now I'm one of the so-called subject matter experts responsible for media and content.
Giacomo Mazzone from the European Broadcasting Union. We are also a member of the Association of the Veterans, and we are here to support and represent also RAI that today cannot join this meeting, unfortunately.
Good morning, my name is Jon Erbgut. I'm the subject matter expert for human rights and data protection. My focus is blockchain and GDPR. I'm researching at the University of Geneva and also an independent consultant.
Hi everyone, my name is Gergana Petrova. It's my first EuroDIG meeting. I work at RIPE NCC, first EuroDIG prep meeting. I've been attending EuroDIG, I think, for the last 4 years. I work at RIPE NCC, which is the regional internet registry for Europe, the Middle East and parts of Central Asia. What else can I share? I'm also involved with CDIG, the Southeast Europe Dialogue on Internet Governance. I will let you, Chris, my colleague, tell you more about RIPE NCC.
I think I'm last. Hi. My name is Chris Buckridge. I work for the RIPE NCC. We've been an institutional partner for EuroDIG, I think, since the beginning. I'm also part of the EuroDIG Association board. And yeah, looking forward to the day.
And Chris is also part of the IGF and ICANN multi-stakeholder panel, of course.
Aren't we all?
Hello, I'm Rainer Rodewald. I try to moderate the remote participants, and I'm working for EuroDIG Secretariat.
And also, is it working?
No.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. And also welcome from my side, Sandra Hoferichter, Secretary General of EuroDIG. And I would also take the pleasure to introduce rather quickly our remote participants. We have around 15 people joining us online. We will not ask them to introduce themselves because that might take too long with connecting, disconnecting, but later on, of course, our remote participants are invited to speak up. But I will quickly read who is online, which is Amalie de Silva Michel, which is Andrew Kempling, Anna Carbone, someone who calls itself A Pastorino. Then we have Gonzalo from Telefonica, Laureen Rava from IEEE. Hang on. Michael Odja, everyone probably knows him. Minda Moreira, someone who calls, I think that's Marine Noemi Marquez from Orange. Nadia, I guess Nadia Chaya, exactly. Olga, I could imagine Olga Cyrillic, but I'm not 100% sure. Someone calls itself Tom Pack. Vittorio Bertola, someone on the phone line, and that's it. And I would already like to encourage the remote participants to introduce themselves when they are willing to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. So, as I said before, we've had a very interesting year last year with a few important things that have happened that have a hopefully positive impact on the discussion on internet and digital governance in the world and also in Europe, and thus also on this EuroDIG that we are having in Chester in June. One thing, of course, is the report of the high-level panel of the UN Secretary General. That is the first panel that the UN Secretary General set up on this issue, which has issued a number of interesting recommendations that have been intensely debated since the publication of that report in June last year. We were the first ones, actually, EuroDIG, to start an open discussion process online that has then been picked up by others. There have been a number of discussion moments on this report since then, in particular, of course, also at the Internet Governance Forum, the IGF in Berlin, that took place in November. That was a very big event, very well organized, well prepared for a long time by the Germans, and it showed also the numbers of participation that are still going up and significantly been going up in the last years, that there is a need for a dialogue on a number of aspects of internet and digital governance and cooperation. At the same time, it was also clear, and that was one of the points of the report, that dialogue in itself is not enough. We also need to act, we need to be able to act, and one of the key gaps that the report identified is to some extent missing link between expert dialogue like what you have at an IGF or at a EuroDIG and the political and economical decision makers, which normally act in their silos, in their circles that they consult, but sometimes disconnected to not just to scientists, but also to other kinds of experts, to civil society, to economic actors that are not part of the core of the decision-making circles. And this is one of the things that we as a Swiss government, and I'm now speaking from that perspective, hope that the report will help on global level and also on European level to better bring together the different communities to make the discussion more inclusive, but not just the discussion, but to make sure that all voices are heard when decisions are taken. And the signals, I think, are very positive in that regard, that people want to continue to develop these processes in a way that decision-making improves, that decision-making is more agile, more inclusive. And of course, our hope and expectation is that EuroDIG will be another milestone on the European level in not just improving and having a dialogue, but also getting decision makers closer to the ones that actually know what they are talking about. And one of the important elements of the IGF last year in Berlin was the fact that they managed to bring in 150 parliamentarians from all over the world to the IGF to listen to and discuss these issues that we are more familiar, normally people like us, than the parliamentarians. And of course we hope that that is also an incentive and a wake-up call to not just the parliamentarians from Europe that have been at the IGF, but that we manage also to get parliamentarians to Trieste to discuss this, let's say, European digital and internet policy and governance and cooperation. So this is basically what we hope to achieve with EuroDIG this year. And we have a little bit of time. I think the length of the session and on the website, there's a mistake, so it doesn't last until 10, but it lasts until the coffee break starts at 10:30, so we have like 35 minutes to discuss our expectations, also in particular, of course, of the host. And we've already heard some elements. What do we want EuroDIG to achieve this year, so that we have a little bit of a sense of, do we want the same, and if so, how do we get there? So let me open up the floor to all of you and tell us what you expect. Why are you here? Those online and those physically present. Thank you. Which mechanism?
How will they proceed
for EuroDIG or the high-level panel? I'm still connected. Yeah, there was a request from the floor to know a little bit more about how the high-level panel follow-up is working. Well, it's a UN process, so things are never really clear, and communication is always a little bit of a challenge. But for those who are not, and we are fortunately quite close because we've been one of the key initiators of the panel. There are 5 recommendations with sub-recommendations. Some of the recommendations have an A, B, and C. 4 of them are substantive recommendations on connectivity, development issues, human rights issues, security issues. Artificial intelligence is also something that is present in the report, of course. And then recommendation number 5 is more about the architecture of the current system, ecosystem of cooperation, but also of governance of digital issues. And what the UN has done after the publication of the report, they have set up, or invited teams to be set up that will discuss, focus on each one on one of the recommendations and try to see to what extent and how how they could be implemented. And so they designated 1 or 2 or 3 champions, so-called champions, for every of these recommendations. And the champions are supposed to lead and facilitate the discussion on each of these recommendations. And then there's an open list for supporters or members of these teams. I don't remember the exact name. So whatever recommendation or substance you're interested in joining the discussion and the action on implementing it, you can always contact, and you find the information on the IGF website, but also on the digitalcooperation.org website, which is the website of the high-level panel. So you can join these teams and collaborate. And the people have asked to organize a number of roundtables and conferences to discuss the recommendations and to discuss where people agree, where people disagree, where there's a willingness to implement. And for instance, right now, this week, from Tuesday to today, there has been and is the IGF open consultation meeting in Geneva that is starting to prepare the next IGF that will take in Poland in November this year. And as a part of this, my government, together with the IGF chair, has organized a discussion, a 3 hours discussion on Tuesday this week on recommendation 5, which is the one that we think is the most important, which is how to further develop the architecture of digital cooperation and digital governance. So, there are some indications on the websites about how to organize. Anybody's free to organize discussions on the recommendations of the high-level panel. And in case of recommendation 5, where the German government and the UAE government is the so-called champion, they have set up a website. Yeah, excellent. They have set up a website where they list all the events, all the discussions that they themselves or others organize about implementation of recommendation 5. They collect summaries of all the discussions. They try to basically moderate a decentralized and inclusive debate. This is another example of recommendation 5. Others do it a similar way. It's a little bit complex because they really try to be inclusive and decentralized, but they do, in that case, the German and the UAE government, with the support of the IGF Secretariat and some UN people in New York, they try to the best to really get the discussion around the world and then see where things are going. I don't remember now what the next milestones are, but of course, in EuroDIG we'll somehow, in one way or another, also discuss this probably. And then, of course, the IGF in Poland will be another big moment for this. But there may be things that happen in between. And for those that are not familiar with the recommendation 5, its main element is that it proposes not to create any new institution, new UN or other institution to deal with digital issues, but to basically better connect existing institutions, be it governmental, intergovernmental, or private sector, or techie institutions, into horizontal networks that cooperate on a voluntary basis to solving concrete issues in a multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder way. So that's the core of the logic that has been quite well received. And so a lot of things are going on, and one of the elements is also to try and map and bring people together that are already working on issues, instead of creating new institutions, to use the existing mechanisms, but connect them in a way that they allow for a holistic and more inclusive outcomes. So Sandra has also some information on this.
Thank you, Thomas. This is really brand new information, since the IGF open consultation and the MAG meeting is still going on. I've been there, and the German government represented this website, which has the name global-cooperation.digital. It's on, I think, the beginning of the week. And you might remember that we had this consultation process among European stakeholders on this high-level report. And one of the outcomes which came out of at the IGF was that it's important that the national and regional IGFs are represented in this process that is following now, in order to come up with really recommendations and a way forward. And I was really, really positively surprised that the champions team, the German government and the government of the United Emirates, already took up to include national and regional IGFs. They already included it into their plans of activities. You will find that on the website under follow-up and roadmap. And those who were present at the IGF consultation now agreed already that the regional IGFs, namely the Asia-Pacific IGF, the Arab IGF, the West Africa or the Africa IGF, the Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance, the EuroDIG. Did I forget anyone? And we will also talk to the Latin American IGF, which was not present, but we have good connections to Raúl Echeverría, for instance, that we will try to help and facilitate this process together with the German government and the UAE government to at least fulfill this part of the consultation process of grassroots consultation, leveraging national and regional IGFs. So this was one concrete outcome already from this IGF consultations that we had. And basically I'm very happy that we are already this far, and that this was taken up, that national and regional IGFs will play an important role in this process. When we discuss the program later on, we should think how this will be reflected in our EuroDIG program, absolutely.
Arnold van Rijn, Netherlands government. Thank you for this information regarding where we stand with respect to the report. I think it's crucial that the UN must open its windows fully to let all the stakeholders be part of this important process. We're a bit worried because we heard the French, and then I think it was the UK delegate in Berlin stating that this is quite an intransparent process. But we're advancing. I mean, it's getting better, and I really applaud the suggestion by and the proposal by the German champion of this recommendation 5AB to set up this website with a timetable, what's going to be next. We try to be on board as the Netherlands government, but unfortunately, with respect to this recommendation, it is not yet there. But we're working on that with the Executive Office of the Secretary General. The Netherlands, as you know, is a long-standing supporter, financial supporter of the IGF. I have personally been a MAC member for 3 years, and we'd like to be a part of that process. We even have submitted a paper regarding our views on what's going to be the future architecture, structure of this governance of the internet. We are also involved in the cybersecurity track. We are a co-champion and also a key constituent with respect to human rights. But we'd like preferably to be on board with respect to internet governance. Coming back to the explanation where we stand, I have a question. You mentioned, Thomas, the round tables. And I'm a bit puzzled. Okay, it's very good to have these round tables, but there will be virtual round tables. How is it going to be set up? How can we be involved in these round tables?
Yes, thank you, Arnold. Well, I tell you everything I know because, as everybody knows, it's not so easy, and the information is not necessarily given all at once, and sometimes people at the UN themselves, they don't really have a clear idea. But what we know, and I think what should also be on the website, and what is in some communication of the UN, is that again, that their idea is that there should be a global decentralized discussion about all the recommendations. And the way the Germans and the UA do it, they invite everybody to organize events. They call it roundtables. You may call it conference or meeting or whatever. So roundtable is just a name for a meeting. That's my understanding. It's just a name for a meeting that anybody can organize, whether you're an NRI or a government or whatever. You may organize a meeting in the Netherlands with all stakeholders to discuss the implementation of the models of Recommendation 5. That's it. So there's no specific, I think, connotation to how exactly a roundtable should look like. It's just a name for that they chose to communicate that whatever you organize is welcome, and they are interested in hearing about the results that will then be collected. It will be announced on the website before, and then there will be a summary of what you deliver on their website. So this is at least my understanding of the process.
Thank you, Thomas. In addition to that, I think from the regional perspective, there is certainly a role for EuroDIG to come forward with, if possible, a message. I mean, Mark Carvel did a wonderful job by compiling all the different views from the EuroDIG community's members. And perhaps that's one point we could take up in June as well, when we have this wonderful meeting here in Trieste.
It's Sandra speaking again. Just one thing I would like to mention, which is kind of a nice coincidence, but not so coincidental, I would say. If you look at our overarching theme of last year's EuroDIG, cooperating in a digital age, which was so timely, having it at the Netherlands, and then put it into context with this high-level report, and now moving forward the work towards our this year's motto towards sustainable governance of the internet. I really think that we are now at the stage to bring, not to have one event after the other, but really to make a flow of events and connect the dots a little bit more. This was, as I remember, one of the demands that we had in the past, that we really should connect one event with the other. And I think with this year and with this report and with our intersessional work, we really achieved this goal, and we are on the way of getting closer to that. But,
just a question about the timetable or timeline here. I'm looking at this at the sort of timeline here on the German website, and in April should be already the transmission of results of key constituents-led consultations and other initiatives, and then end of June the co-champions draft options paper circulated to key constituents. In other words, if we have EuroDIG in the beginning of June, where do we fit in this process?
Maybe we have a new important person that joined us, so let us quickly give the floor to Senator Fantinatti to quickly present himself, because we already presented each and everybody just said.
Thank you very much. Good morning, all of you. I'm not an important person. I'm sorry for being in the delay, but I really thought that it was at 10.
No problem.
I am sorry. I'm Mattia Fantinatti. I'm a member of the House of Representatives of the Italian Parliament, and I've been recently appointed as a special advisor of the ministry, of the new ministry, the Italian Ministry of Digitalization and Innovation. And I sort of way the new minister that is named Paola Pisano is really she's really interested in a new activity of the IGF and EuroDIG. I'm sorry, we have been set up, and this ministry has 3 months of life, and so we have a lot of things to do and a lot to be involved. Honestly, what I really think, welcome in Italy first of all, and I'm very proud that the next EuroDIG will be in Italy. I think that it doesn't count if it's Italy or if it's any other country of Europe or of the world, but I think that in a sort of way a strategy of internet and all the information technology subject is needed. So we have to discuss, because the information technology topics in a sort of way has transformed our society, and we have to develop our strategy because I do know that it's a transformation can bring a lot of new opportunity, but also raise some concerns, and now we have to discuss about them. I see the point of view of the citizen and of the people. It's really important, as a European Commission has done, to put the people on the center of the development, and the approach of a human-centric approach, and the approach of in a sort of legal and ethical framework. And it's really, really important, because if, in a sort of way, if the citizens are comfortable to use a new technology, I think that is sort of a win-win strategy, and companies, institutions, citizens, our private and professional lives, I think can be improved. Otherwise, it will be a problem. So I think that we have a really important liability of that, and I think that we are going to do our best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have 15 minutes left for other expectations and views. Chris from RIPE NCC. Sorry, we have only one mic, so you need to pass it on one, or everyone will help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning. I'm just going to sit down. I don't think I need to stand up here. Just sort of getting back to, the very broad question of expectations about this, and I think sort of there's been some really good points made, and I think, Sandra, your points about the link between past events and this event and the theme for this event is very important. I think actually, even in the time since the September planning meeting, that idea of a sustainable model is something that's gained even more sort of relevance and centrality to sort of the global discussion, not only about internet governance, but more broadly. In terms of expectations and how we look at what we want this event to produce or how it should operate, I think one of the really key aspects for me of a sustainable approach is an approach that produces some practical outcomes and some practical suggestions or ways forward. So I hope that as we develop the program and as we look at different kinds of events, there is a real focus on, okay, what's the, coming out of this discussion or this session or this workshop, what is the practical outcome? Is there a sort of clear next step, or can we sort of look at trying to identify where this issue that we're discussing can be resolved? Do we need to take it to governments, or does it need to go to a certain technical forum, or does it need to go somewhere else? What is the solution space, I guess, for any of these issues that we discuss here? So I think that bringing it back to some sort of practicality, some sort of way forward from this, because I think EuroDIG and many of the other IGF events, in a way we can see them as a clearinghouse kind of events, of issues. We get a huge diversity of different issues, different problems that relate to the internet and how we use them. But these kind of internet governance events are not the place to solve those problems. They're the place to better identify what the issue is, what the problem is, and work out where the next step is, or what the next step would be to actually find a sustainable solution to those problems. So yeah, I think it's important to really keep that in mind as we develop the program and as we develop the sessions themselves.
We do have a raised hand by Andrea Campbell. I give him the floor.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Perfect.
Marvellous. Yes, what I wanted to share was, I think one thing in particular that I believe is really important, which would be a fantastic outcome, would be to see if there's a way of solving the current vacuum in the complete lack of any policy governance on the internet. There are lots of groups like the ITF that have a very technical focus on how things develop, but at the moment there's no policy governance, so the technical groups are making decisions and effectively setting policy direction without necessarily the right, the sort of diverse enough group of stakeholders involved in those decisions, and arguably without really the right skill sets and capabilities to make the decisions. So a fantastic outcome for me would be to actually find a solution to that and see if there's a way to actually set up proper policy governance for the internet. Thank you.
Thank you for this intervention. That's noted. More views?
Thank you. Peter Koch, DINIG. So I am here because I have difficulties to understand why, on one hand, we see all this applause and support for the dialogue between decision makers and the technical communities and the other stakeholders, or as Thomas, I think, put it a couple of minutes ago, the people who know what they are technically talking about, or the people who know how things run. while on the other side, I see that we have an flow of legislation, at least in my country, which is 100% emotions-based, far away from evidence-based policy making, and that may or may not be restricted to the internet governance, but let's focus on that for a moment. So the question is, where is this cognitive dissonance coming from? So what's the issue here? How can we bring this in line, and how can we actually have an effect on what is happening on a national or maybe even on a European basis when it comes to regulation or attempts of regulation? We see increasing attempts to make infrastructure providers responsible for content, and content regulation is the thing that is all over the place in combination with the other elephant in the room, that is cross-border law enforcement. And I don't get this in line with all the applause about the nice continuation of the dialogue and so on and so forth. And maybe people can enlighten me on that, and we can find, try to frame sessions that actually drill down into this and make a more stressful maybe dialogue, but a dialogue between the different stakeholders and between the different parties, rather than keeping that in silos. Not saying that that is always happening at EuroDIG. There are worse examples, but getting a bit more steam in the pot, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Frederick Donk.
Thank you very much. So thank
Hello?
you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I don't know. Ladies first? Okay.
We have Frederick and then the lady online.
Okay, sorry. So
Hello? We just want to present.
I don't know. What
was it?
We are on behalf of the Ministry of Economic Development, just to present ourselves, and we'll leave the floor, okay? Hello?
Okay.
Will you please
go ahead.
Please wait until you.
Thank you.
So the government is hijacking the EuroDIG process, obviously. Thank you. I mean, we exactly. So Frederick Dong again from the Internet Society. Thank you, Peter, for injecting something, and as did Chris, by the way, something that we can concretely achieve here and now. I believe indeed that there are conversations that Thomas introduced, that is our relations to the governance as such. I believe that is an issue that might be addressed during the EuroDIG in a particular session, of course. But our role here, to me, would be really what we can decide here we want to achieve during the next EuroDIG. And I believe we need to be very concrete. So there were suggestions from Peter that I fully support. I believe we still have elephant in the rooms, cross-border issues at European level that we need to address. That is critical. Thomas mentioned that we need to focus on the relevance of being decentralized. And I like this because I find myself here in Trieste, in this wonderful place, and I'm surrounded by a lot of experts of infrastructure network. And I would like to leverage this. There is a lot of conversations that need to have that consist in how could we really play the role that we want to play, and that is connecting the unconnected people. And we are surrounded by a lot of people who work in there, so I would really suggest that we leverage this ability. This is how also we can use EuroDIG. We go in places where you have experts that can bring something based on the local experience. So I would really like to also leverage this local experience. Thank you.
Gina Franco, please, if you want. No, obviously not.
We had a remote participant trying to speak before.
Hello?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah. Now we can hear you.
Okay, welcome. Just to introduce ourselves, we are on behalf of the Ministry of Economic Development, speaking from the General Direction on ICT Technologies. Just to say that, okay, we leave the floor. Good morning.
Good morning. You have the floor. If you want to just take it and take your chance and make yourself known.
We just would like to listen a little bit the issues that you are already started to speak about, and then we will ask you to say something about our proposals, okay, about the categories. But we can speak also after a few minutes.
We will do this after the coffee break.
All right.
So we have 3-4 minutes left. Then there will be a coffee break from 10:30 to 11, and then we can start with you. So this is very welcome. So we have 2-3 people here in the room, and Andrea Becali online that are in the list of speakers. Thank you. Olivier, since you have the microphone.
Thank you, Thomas. Olivier Crepin-Leblond. Yeah, I've grabbed the mic early enough. Just two things I'm looking forward for this EuroDIG. The first one is to keep the sessions very practical and don't delve too much into the theory of things. I think what speaks to the audiences often is to really bring forward what it means for everyday end users. What does it mean for people that use the internet? And that's, of course, going across all of the different fields of all the different topics that we have. So the consequences, the impact that it has on internet users. And of course, I'm saying this because of my EuroDIG affiliation that provides the input from internet end users into the ICANN processes. But secondly, also, I think it's important that we also have a very strong European perspective in our discussions, because the debate globally often seems to be somehow more US-centric. Actually, there's like a polarization. It's either US-centric or centric on the rest of the world, but Europeans really, as we know, are one block. And of course, here I'm speaking about someone who lives in the United Kingdom. And, we need to be as a group, very much involved in developing common European policy and perspectives, and then also be able to bring this over to the global IGF. And of course, I'm well aware that Europe is a very diverse bloc, and this is why we need to have that discussion from our different corners of Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Elke Pals from the Netherlands, and what I saw in the program is that there are a lot of categories. However, looking at them, I don't see a real trend in also the educational and digital skills. I guess we can maybe add a category to that, also referring to the statement of Olivier, that we can also focus more on the end user instead of the bigger picture.
Giacomo is the last one. I'm told Andrea Becali first online, and then Giacomo, and then also Uri, and then I think we need to close for the moment.
Good morning. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Good morning. This is Andrea Becali from ICANN, and sorry not being there. Unfortunately, I've been mandated not to travel by the doctor, which looks like the only way that you can avoid traveling in ICANN. Yeah, I wish I was able to be there with you, but I'll be following today. And what we like to achieve, and it's very timely because we just finished a 2-day retreat here in Brussels as ICANN, and we had a lot of discussion on how the internet landscape is changing from the policy to the business to the public sentiment across the globe and in Europe also. So I would really like to achieve that EuroDIG becomes the recognized fora where all the stakeholders in Europe, but really all the stakeholders, and that's I would like to stress, come to discuss, what is what do we want and how we can achieve that from the European standpoint. There are a lot of initiatives, and you may be well aware of the priorities of this new commission that just started. So there is a new European Parliament. It is the turn of the new decade. So there are many signs where we can work on a clean slate. And my fear and what I wouldn't want to see is that EuroDIG, that already has how many years? In 2008, so more than 10 years of history, is not part of this discussion. It is not seen as part of this discussion, and that would be really a shame, because we have, as a community, a lot to contribute. We have a lot of history. We have principles. We have experience with the multi-stakeholder model, but we are seeing that governments at the European level, at the national level, they are doing more and more legislation, regulation on several issues of the internet, and without really even realizing that there is an internet governance debate going on, or realizing that, but thinking that that's not the place to have these things done, because in this fora it's only talking and talking. We see that at the global level, the global IGF is getting the attention and the political support from the highest level, from the UN Secretary General, from heads of state. I would like to see the same at the next EuroDIG. So I would like to see commissioners coming and presenting what are their plans, which policies, initiatives, if they are discussing new strategies for the governance of the internet, or to not be taken cold on issues like what happens with the GDPR, where we have been discussing issues about privacy and protection of personal data for many years, and then suddenly, we see that there was no really consultation, no real multi-stakeholder model being implemented in that, and we see the result of that. So that's just to conclude, that the EuroDIG this time, it is seen as the starting point and the connection, the main node of a network of policies and new regulations, probably new standards and new technical evolution that I'm sure we will see in the next decade. And so that's I conclude, and I hope to can be as useful as I can remotely. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Next is Giacomo.
Yes, I want to go in the same direction of what has been told by others. We have a unique opportunity and I think a duty that is to try to address the policy at the very beginning of the new legislation in the European Parliament. It's a unique opportunity. This new Commission and this new Parliament, they are willing to do some things in this direction, it seems. There are human material that is very good and they can make important changes, and I think that our role as EuroDIG is to try to give them ideas of what can be done. I also remember that if we look at the other European institution we are looking at, that is the Council of Europe, we will have just a few weeks before us the 3 recommendations that are expected to be approved by the Council of Ministers of Media, that are most of them in our field, because one is about artificial intelligence in the media sector, and so I think that we have a lot on which we can build, and I think that we have to shape the program in a way that could influence that. This is what they expect from us, that we give ideas, that we create not only ideas, but ideas around which we can structure consensus or simply identify where we have fracture line so that the legislator can intervene. And I think that this is also in the interest of the Italian government if they want to play a role in this European arena. Thank you.
Thank you. Uri?
Yeah, I think what you said is very important also in the view that the EU is now trying to put together this new Digital Services Act. But what I wanted to say actually was about continuity. That is to say, we every year we produce messages and documentation on the EuroDIG, and then we start planning for the new one. And perhaps it would be could make an effort to take into account better what we were talking about last year, and ask especially the focal points and also us subject matter experts actually to try to see how things have developed from the last year, to get some sort of more continuity in the process. We always say that no, this is not a series of unconnected annual events. This is a process, and perhaps we could try to make it more a process where in these various areas which we follow from year to year. Thank you.
Thank you, Uri. So we have one last, very short, please, intervention from you, and then we go for coffee break.
And just a little thought. I think we are not alone anymore. So all society is talking about digital governance, and therefore we have to focus more on specific points where we can move things, where we need to connect interests. So I would argue for a more focused approach compared to an approach where nobody was talking about and where we had to educate in a very broad manner. Thank you.
Thank you. So Sandra has taken note of what you said and put up a list of bullet points trying to capture this. Maybe just one word from my side. The same discussion was held also in Geneva on Tuesday and yesterday on expectations on the IGF, and basically the answers went into a similar direction. A better linkage of thematic linkages also of the sessions and workshops while the IGF is bigger, so they try to have more clearly identified thread with a clearer focus. As the last speaker has said, in 10, 15 years' time, the issues were all new, so it was more like of a first raising awareness exercise. Now people are much more familiar with the issues, with the challenges, so we should maybe be less general and focus more on less issues but more specific issues. Of course, then the question is which ones are the priority issues, and that is normally the challenge to this. But to be more focused, more solution-oriented, that is something that was also heard at the IGF, and that the thread that the meetings and the sessions are better connected. This is of course all easily said and less easily done because it's not always the same people. But I think that's one of the messages that we've heard, and that the focal points and the subject matter experts will take note of and will try to implement as good as they can. With this, let me give the floor to Sandra just to say two sentences about the bullets that she did, and then we go for coffee break.
In the tradition of the IGF, I took notes of what I heard from you, and I would like to ask you if you agree with what's there, or if you disagree with one point, if I misinterpreted some things, then let me know, because otherwise this will be the Secretariat's guideline to prepare next year's EuroDIG. So, sorry, this year's, yes. So raise your hand if you have concerns, if something was missed, if something was misinterpreted, because this is our roadmap.
We'll leave it here during the coffee break, so you can also come.
Yeah, you can also come after the coffee break.
In order not to delay things. So this, if that's okay, this is it. So
and then also let's keep that in mind when we have the discussion on the program later on. We sent the documents, or we provided the documents on our website. It's really important that you possibly have them either on your computer or we will try to enlarge them as big as possible on the screen so that you really have depth insight in what has been proposed and how we get a focused program. I said already in the invitation that the program this time is less finished than we presented it in the past. So there is more work to do for you here, and we hope with this approach we get a more focused and better program than in the past. And now we have, well, we are running late already, 10 minutes, we have 30 minutes coffee break.
So for those that are connected remotely, we will now put our bathing swimsuits on and jump into the sea, which is like 10 meters away from us. So we'll be back once we are dry. Thank you.